So, have you ever had any experiences where you did something, but if you knew ahead of time what was going to be involved in it, you never would have done that? I've had about three experiences that I can just think of right now. I've probably had a lot more, but one I know that I was taking a group of friends. I used to have this old Chevy Astro van that would hold 8 people. But when we go on a long trip, we would just maybe put six in there. And we decided we were going to go up to Pagosa Springs to visit a friend. Now, the friend said that it was an 8.5 hour drive from Phoenix up to Pagosa Springs. And we said, okay. And we had a long weekend. We're going to take 4 days. So it would be like, 8 up and be 2 days up there. So we headed out and we had this whole plan. What we're going to do the first night we got there, she was going to fix a salmon dinner, and we were going to have some kind of little opening ceremony type thing, and just a little talking and get together before we go out the next night, because we were going up to look for UFOs, and this particular person can find them all over the place, but that's beside the point. We were just going up there on this trip. Well, we drove and drove and drove and drove. It took us 12.5 hours to get there. And she says it's an 8.5 hour trip. And when we came back, it was 12.5 hours back. So I don't know if she was time traveling or what, or, bilocating. I don't know, but it took us 12.5 hours. But my son and his family went skiing this year up to a place of just a little bit outside, to Wolf Creek up in Colorado, just a little bit outside of Pagosa Springs. And it took them about 9 hours. So I don't know what happened that it took us for 12 hours. It must have been in some kind of I don't know, time warp or something. I don't know what it was, but anyway, so that was one experience. Another one, I was up. There's a place up in the north called the Mogollon Rim up here in Arizona, and I love to go up there in the summer and spend all kinds of time just sitting out in the woods. And when I had my friend Pete last year, we went up there, and I wanted to show him where we used to go camping all the time. And so we went up to this place. Found a lake. It's called Woods Canyon Lake, and we went and found that place. And then on the way out, our camping place where we always went was on Rim Road 300, and we came out of the lake area, and it says, you could get out on the highway, or here's the Rim Road 300 going this way. And I said, oh, let's go that way, because that'll take us over to where I want to show you. And so we got on that trip, and we drove and drove and drove and drove and drove. And we drove, and I, just kept on going, and then we see a sign and say it's 22 more miles. And we'd already been driving for an hour and a half, and we stopped for a picnic, and it literally, it took us 2 hours, and it was 40 miles. Never, if I knew that ahead of time, would we have gone that way. But we had such a lovely time, and we were just going in and just experience this place where I've never been to in my whole life. It's a beautiful, beautiful place, and it was such a rough, not necessarily rough, but it was isolated, very isolated road. There were not a lot of campers. There was a lot of people. We just only saw like 2 or 3 vehicles past us the whole time. Never would we have done that if we knew that ahead of time. So it's so funny, the things that you, it's like you bite off more than you can chew. Like I did do a video one time of when I thought I was going to go ahead and drive our RV and show that I could do that in case my husband had a problem. We were up in the woods and he had a problem. And so, and I was always afraid of that because it was just like huge, you just can't do that. But anyway, so that one I did end up being able to do, but it wasn't it wasn't as difficult as if I thought it was going to be. And then was another time when my granddaughter came over, and we were sitting at the table, and it was in the summer, and we realized that both of us had 4 days in a row with nothing scheduled. So we thought, well, let's just go over to San Diego. So we hauled off at 7 o'clock and decided to go to San Diego, never even thinking ahead of going, it's a weekend. 110,000 more people are going to be there for the weekend. And so we just drove over there and had this spontaneous moment. And then trying to find a motel was an exciting thing. So if we had thought about it ahead of time, we would have been practical and say, no, we're not going to be able to find a motel. I didn't want to spend like $300 on a motel. We were just popping over there for the weekend. So that's one that I we wouldn't have done if we thought about it. And then the first one where you think you're going to drive up to Pagosa Springs in 8.5 hours. If we knew it was 12.5, we would never have done that. And we had such a fabulous time. And by the way, we saw a bunch of unidentified things flying around all over the place. It was very interesting, but we never would have gone if you told me it was a 12.5 hour trip. So it's kind of nice sometimes that you don't know ahead of time what you're getting into, and you're willing to just jump off the cliff and see what happens. And then you have these great adventures show up. Nice, wonderful, wonderful experiences you have that were spontaneous and you did them and you didn't stop yourself from going because you're being practical. So that's it for today, and I'll see you next week. And I hope you like and subscribe. And if you got any comments, any other experiences you have had like that, just put it in the comments and share it with everybody. I appreciate you watching. Thanks.